Good morning. Good morning. Okay, so this week is section 18 and 19. And today is section 18, verses 1 through 12. And I got my wheel again. So the date is June 1829 in Fayette, New York. It's concerning Joseph Smith Jr., Oliver Cowdery, and David Whitmer. And the prominent doctrine or theme is the worth of souls, the 12 apostles to be chosen. So if we just start with a little historical background, all of the sections in the Doctrine and Covenants come because of a question. Somebody goes to the Lord or asks Joseph to go to the Lord because they have a question, or they want to know this or that. So the question here, according to the podcast, is that they're not trying to write or organize a church yet, but the Lord has said, we're going to organize a church, and Oliver and Joseph are praying. They've received the Aaronic priesthood, but their desire is to have the Melchizedek now. John the Baptist said that they would have it, and they're praying for it. They say this is the desire of their heart. What does he say? He says, "We had for some time made this matter a subject of humble prayer, more particularly to seek of the Lord what we now so earnestly desired, and here, to our unspeakable satisfaction, did we realize the truth of the Saviour's promise, ask and it shall be given you, seek and ye shall find, knock and it shall be opened unto you." So according to the podcast, they had asked Oliver Cowdery, Joseph, David, the basic people kind of in charge or in the main circle, had asked Oliver Cowdery to write up some founding documents for the church. And he was having a little bit of trouble with it, and he says, let's ask the Lord. Okay, let's ask the Lord what he thinks. And so in the first, I believe it's the first verse, okay, so in the first couple of verses, the Lord says, Oliver, you know my words are true. The things which you are writing, i.e. the Book of Mormon, you know it's true. It contains my gospel. Go there to write your founding documents. So that's kind of the kind of overall question as to why this revelation was received. Now, in this revelation, it talks about the Melchizedek priesthood and the ordination of the 12, or the office of the 12, their reason for being. So, let's see. The Melchizedek priesthood is necessary for bestowing the gift of the Holy Ghost and all other higher ordinances of the gospel. It had to be restored to the earth before the church could be organized. So this revelation, which talks about the office of the 12, is about 6 years before the church is even organized. Well, 5 years before the church is organized, I believe, and then 6 years before the 12 are even called. The worth of souls is emphasized along with the great joy that attends the conversion of souls to the gospel of Jesus Christ. The calling of the 12 to assist in the ministry is foreshadowed. In the podcast, the way that they talk about the 12 apostles kind of made me see our current apostles in a new light. You're just like, oh yeah, they're the apostles. It's Jeffrey. I love him so much, and this, that, and the other. But the way that they talk about the apostles in the podcast made me see them as like can I explain this? Made me see them as more than just like men who lead the church. It made me see them as more of like missionaries, worldwide missionaries. If that, I don't know, just it's hard to explain the new way that I saw them. Anyways, so I recommend the podcast because some of the things they say are really beautiful. So anyways, key insights about Christ and his church. Christ was willing to suffer infinite agony to save our souls, proof that he values our souls. And then we take Christ's name upon us by being baptized and accepting the obligation to represent ourselves as Christ to the best of our ability to do what he would do. And then some main themes. If the Savior values souls so highly, then we must seek to be like him in our value of the human soul. Now, this is going to be a little veer for a second because last night yesterday I did some calculation, and if you read one conference talk a day starting yesterday or today, you'll finish by the time conference rolls around, which is like, oh my gosh, it's right around the corner. How did that happen? Wasn't it just yesterday? But so anyways, I had read some, not all of them, but some, and yesterday's conference talk was the same one that Wendy did, where she started her Christ-like attributes one, and becoming like him, Elder Scott D. Whiting. And in this, it says to do the Christ-like attribute activity in chapter 6 of Preach My Gospel. So I read that talk last night after watching the podcast, which talked a lot about the atonement and how the Savior values us and our souls. And after Wendy's experience, I felt inspired to try my hand at it, if you will. Now, I had already done it some years ago, and my answers were in the book. So if you can see, I know. Anyway, so I was like, okay, well now I can see where I'm at compared to where I was a few years ago. It doesn't say the date the last time I did this, but I was in the branch, I was in my 20s. So somewhere along there, I was in my 20s. So I did it last night, and it was telling. So anyways, you do them, you add up your scores, and you're like, oh, okay, well I got 14 in obedience, and I got 17 in hope, and 21 in humility, and you're like, oh, those aren't that great scores. But when you realize that it's 17 out of 20, you're like, oh, okay, that's not bad. And 14 out of 20, that's not horrible. And 21 out of 30, that's not horrible. However, I got, which one was my lowest one? Charity and love. I got 29 out of 50. So that one was my lowest one. Charity and love. Let's see. The lowest one on there was, when I pray, I ask for charity, the pure love of Christ. I don't ever ask for that. I obviously need to. Also, I try to, no. I feel sincere desire for the eternal welfare and happiness of other people. Outside my family, I don't think I do. Which is why I probably got such a low score on that. And in relation to my job and my work, I would say that love and charity is pretty low on my scale as well. So that, coupled with this study of the atonement and the pure love of Christ, I think it's what is it called? I want to say the word apropos, but I don't know if that's right. Okay, So there's my little tangent there. So obviously we're connecting right up. So anyways, let's go into the verses. It's 1 through 12. We've got the historical background, sort of. If you want more, I highly suggest the podcast, which is Follow Him by Hank Smith and John By the Way. So anyways, to get into the verses. We talked about that. Okay, so the Lord uses the three words in verses 4, 5, and 17, church, gospel, and rock, several times in sequence and in close relationship to each other. Here he states that in the scriptures are all things concerning the foundation of my church, my gospel, and my rock. Wherefore, if you shall build up my church upon my foundation, upon the foundation of my gospel and my rock, the gates of hell shall not prevail against you. Later in this same revelation, he states, you have my gospel before you and my rock and my salvation. So when he's asking, how do I write these founding documents? How do I do a brief little outline of how we're supposed to build this church? The Savior says, go to the scriptures. Go to 3rd Nephi. Go to some of the chapters of Moroni where it talks about the sacrament. He's saying it's all there for you. The priesthood is the power of the priesthood of God is the power and authority to act for and in behalf of God. Certainly God, who is unchangeable, the same yesterday, today, and forever, has the right and the power to select whomever he will to represent him and act for him on earth. In New Testament times, the Savior called and ordained 12 men, whom he called both disciples and apostles, to be special witnesses for him. Later, other men, including Paul, were called and ordained as apostles. In this revelation, the Lord announces that he is going to give some men in this dispensation the same powers and authority he gave anciently to Paul. So that's all for the verses. Really, that's all that really we need to go into here. We're creeping closer. I think he said chapter 30 is where they organize, or is it 20? Section. I should say section. Yeah, section 20 is where they organize the church. But that's still 5 years away in real time. So we've got some interesting things coming up. Like I said, the first couple of sections were about basically kind of patriarchal blessings given to people to know their purpose, and now we're getting into organization type things and more focused on the Savior and his gospel and his church. So that's kind of exciting to switch over from that to this. I'm excited about that. Okay, so that's all I've got. We will see you tomorrow.